Mere conservatism.
Finally, David Perry and Cleve Walker back in the saddle. David.
Yeah. Sorry, it's been a little while.
It has been a little while. And this is mere conservatism. And, we know you have a life to live. We both do.
Yes.
But now we get to look back on, in my humble opinion, this is the greatest comeback in political history.
I don't think that's an opinion. I think that is a well-established fact. Can you imagine? This guy was impeached twice.
Right.
He was almost killed twice.
Right.
All the indictments and the hoaxes and everything else against him. And he comes back and wins. By the way, he really beat two people in this election. He beat Biden so bad in that debate he had to drop out, and then he turned around and he beat Kamala too.
Right. You know, I don't know which is more fun, the fact that we have Trump coming back, and I want to say it right now, I give all the glory to God, okay? And I'm thinking Trump realizes that too. I mean,
Trump knows that he'd be dead if not.
And he said that many times.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that. So, but my point is, I also stayed up late because I stayed up till 3:30 in the morning because not only did I want to hear more about the victory, but I tuned into NBC, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, literally to watch the reaction.
I watched a little bit of MSNBC that night, and I got to say, it was really interesting to see. The thing I noticed about MSNBC is that they're still on the Russia thing.
Right. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they were saying, well, now we're going to have a president who is on Russia's side in the war in Ukraine. And I mean, they're still doing the Russia thing, which makes me realize how lost they are.
It makes you realize.
But they were pretty somber over there.
Yeah, but it makes you realize they have nothing. They had nothing for the election campaign, and they have nothing now. I mean, they are bankrupt, and this victory shows them for what they are. Literally, a political party that goes by image. It's more important to them that they appear to be something than they actually have something of substance to go for.
It certainly was a massive failure by them, which makes me very happy.
Yes.
But will they learn the right lesson from it?
No.
I think in the immediate aftermath, I'm not seeing that.
No.
And what I'm seeing is that the problem is that everybody's misogynistic and racist. And by the way, not white people.
Right. Latinos are probably the worst people in your opinion.
Exactly. Their criticism hasn't changed. Only the target of their criticism has changed. I mean, we're seeing the left-wing pundits go on and talk about how misogynist black men are.
Yes.
And that's why Kamala lost. Mm-hmm. And so they're just changing the target of their ire. They haven't changed their rhetoric yet, which I'm here for it.
I just love
Please keep going down that road, please. I'm begging you.
Because that is one of the things that cost them the election, because they talked down to people. They have this elitist attitude that we know what's good for you, and you know that we know it's good for you, so vote for us. And they didn't drop that attitude. Even now they lost it, saying you don't know what's good for you.
They literally, and this is not me being hyperbolistic. They literally believe that people didn't vote for Kamala because they're stupid.
Right. Oh, yes.
They're talking about how uneducated people vote for the Republican, and they confuse educated with smart. Those two things.
That's great. That's great.
Those two things don't go together.
No.
And so it is true that the more advanced degrees you have, the more likely it is that you vote for a Democrat. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that you're smarter than anybody. It just means that you've gotten all these degrees and stuff like that, but they don't see it that way.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to sound chauvinistic for saying this.
Well, you are a black man, so.
But it wasn't just black men. The men in general came out
That's true.
Big time.
Yes, she had a
Donald Trump.
huge problem with men, and she had it the entire time. And not only Donald Trump also actually did very good with married women, which is normal for Republicans, but he did really good there. He did really good with white suburban women, which is a constituency that he had a lot of trouble with.
Right.
In 2020,
the soccer moms.
He did really, really well overall with Hispanic people of whatever gender, black men. 1 in 5 black men voted for Donald Trump, which is a huge number for a Republican.
And yet he went out and earned those votes. He went to places and did things that their side wouldn't do. Mm-hmm. Okay. Their side went to their familiar enclaves and places where, they could count on it. He went everywhere.
And I agree, he did earn the vote, but also Kamala, she drives people like that away from her.
Oh, yeah.
She is like nails on a chalkboard for guys. So is Tim Walz. And not just for guys, for a lot of people, but especially for men. They had nothing to say to men in their campaign. It was a problem the entire time.
Yeah. So it turns out it was a terrible campaign. By the way, they spent more than $1 billion. The Democrats did on that campaign. I mean, that's astounding.
Yeah, they spent a lot of it on celebrities.
Yes, they did. I mean, and it's a fact.
And a lot of people will talk about how she only had 100 days.
Yeah,
which is also their own fault.
Yeah. Well,
they had so many problems. They had the problem of a terrible Joe Biden presidency. They had the problem of a candidate that just didn't have it anymore. Joe Biden, he's gone mentally. They had a vice president who really didn't have much going on either.
Right.
They had so much going against them, but they did it to themselves. It's not like it happened to them. And this is who they are.
And they're still doing it to themselves. I mean, their postmortem analysis, okay, they still don't think it's their fault. And like you were saying, they're now blaming Biden, some of them, because he didn't resign soon enough, that she needed more time. She was, in all honesty, David, and you know this, and everybody else really knows this who sees reality, she was the worst possible candidate who chose the worst possible VP of any campaign I'd ever seen. I mean,
I think it was more her than him, but he certainly didn't help. I mean, we got to remember, they act like she was this powerhouse.
Yeah.
She ran for president, and she had to drop out before the first Democratic primary.
Right. Couldn't get support.
And then they just crowned her the nominee. I mean, it was a massive blunder by them. And picking Tim Walz was a massive blunder, too, by her. But I don't think it would have mattered.
It shows what happens, and this is one of the main philosophies and tenets for the Democrats, what a diversity hire gets you. That's all she was put there for, because she had the right skin complexion, but she was not qualified, and that became obvious the more the campaign went along. This woman is not qualified to be dog catcher.
They compounded errors because of their philosophy when it comes to this stuff. I mean, they really did, because Joe Biden picked her because she was a woman of color, even though she had no appeal to almost anybody, and then she ended up in this spot for that same it was compounding errors over and over again.
One thing, though, I will give the Democrats for, they showed by all their attacks, by the lawfare and the impeachment and everything else they did, they showed why they rightfully feared Donald Trump running again. Because he proved once again, and I know a lot of folks don't like him and his personalities and his way of saying things. It bothers me a lot sometimes. I still feel that he was the guy for this job, for this moment in history. And they somehow knew that. I mean, they did everything to keep him from getting back in there.
It becomes harder and harder, Cleve, to deny what a special politician he is. I mean, 100 years, you may not find another person like him.
Yeah, I'm serious.
And love him or hate him, and all the flaws that he has, he is one of a kind.
Now, what makes him more dangerous to the Democrats and more effective for our side is, after being president first time, seeing the lay of the land, seeing his administration sabotage from within and without, and then seeing what happened in the loss, he is going to be more deadly than ever. He's more focused. I'm seeing it, and
I see it. Yeah,
can you see it,
Cleve? He's had 4 years to think about it.
Right.
That I think this is one of those things when you and I'm not trying to over spiritualize things, and I don't want to put something on God that doesn't need to be there, but just hypothetically,
okay,
the providence of God, you could see a situation where he lost in 2020 and we were up in arms. We were upset about it.
Sure.
It was a travesty and it was rigged and all this stuff. And we were not happy. And we might have even thought to ourselves, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. God may have used this. The timing is so good. He had 4 years as president and it went mostly well until COVID. And all that happened. He ended up losing the presidency to Joe Biden, and he's had 4 years to think about what he would do when he came back, because you know that he knew he was running again.
Yeah.
And you also know that he thought he was going to win, because that's just how he is. He had 4 years to think about what he's going to do. Now, as soon as he won, he started putting out these videos, these policy videos. And I got to say, these things are Ron DeSantis-esque.
Have you noticed?
And
yes.
you know that Ron DeSantis is my champion.
Yeah.
He's my guy. The way he does things and the way he attacks and pushes forward with substance and policy. The videos and things that Trump is coming out with, he's taking a topic, a certain area of public policy, and he's detailing the things that he will do in that particular realm. And it does remind me of Ron DeSantis, which is great. And he's clearly, Cleve, ready to go. Yep. And I think that he knows who he needs in those positions. He's going to hit the ground running. And I hope that he does. I see him doing it, and I hope that it's true, because I think he's got 2 years to really do a lot of the big stuff, because in 2 years we're going to have another election. Chances are really good that Democrats will take the House, because that typically happens on off-year elections. I hope not, but 2 years. He's got to have a lot of this stuff in place, and it looks like he's going to have – they're still counting seats for Congress, but it looks like he's going to have a Republican sweep.
Oh, the
he's
Republicans,
going to be able to do a lot of
they'll have the House. They will have a House by a very narrow margin, but they're going to have it. What you're saying is so true, David, and it encourages me, because I've heard those statements. And not only are the statements good and the plans good and affirm what we elected him to do, but you just know the way he's saying this. This is not a guy saying, I'm putting these out there to give the correct image. This guy plans on doing every single one of them, and he plans on doing them in short order. You're talking about 2 years. I think he's going to do these in less than a month. I'm serious. That
would be amazing.
But that's what he's aimed.
I don't know if he can get all his people in place in a month.
That's a good point. And by the way, we'll talk about that too. He's getting some good folks in. He's getting some people in. I'm kind of surprised in a way. For example, Marco Rubio.
Is that confirmed?
It's pretty much understood, yes.
A lot of people think he's going to be the guy.
And we might come back and say, but it's the folks from what I'm reading who know say yes.
I think that's a good pick.
He's been off. I think it's a great pick. I was a little bit surprised, because the person who holds Secretary of State position gained status as a future presidential candidate. And so we got Vance, and we got DeSantis. So I just wondering how that's going to shake itself out when Trump gets off.
I think Rubio is a good pick. A lot of people consider him a rhino, I think, because of the Gang of Eight thing. He has learned a lot since then. You got to remember, Rubio came in the Tea Party's
That's right. I remember
era.
That. Yeah.
He was one of the original Tea Partiers. Very conservative. And he's a good candidate. Now, is he perfect? Has he been perfect? No. None of these guys are. And if you're looking for a purity test, you're not going to get that. Not only is he not perfect, but people need to realize, and you might disagree with this, maybe we should have a discussion about this when it comes to conservatism, because the show is called Mere Conservatism.
That's right.
The movement is kind of dead. And I hate to say it, but what we just saw was a not conservative powerhouse in Donald Trump, putting together a not conservative coalition with Elon Musk and RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. These are not conservative people. The coalition changed. And so I think the situation we have ourselves in is conservatives have a seat at the table, but we are not the table.
I want to add one more thing to that, though, and I agree with you, by the way. It's so well put because I hadn't thought about putting it quite that way. But I remember mentioning to you a long time ago that a coalition is what it was going to take to beat back the Democrats, and we'd have to learn to coexist together. And Trump is a populist, and this is what populists do. They bring various groups together. Now, I believe I can say this, though. I believe that the conservative part of that coalition is the strongest part right now. But the other parts, to me, are no less essential.
Well, yes, and I will say it's complicated, Cleve, because I believe, looking at some of the stats, I think this is correct. Well, we had the lowest evangelical turnout in this election that we've had maybe ever, or at least in the last several decades.
I don't have that.
Evangelicals are normally a huge voting bloc for conservatives and for Republicans. And then, but you have this you have a lot of people that just didn't vote.
Right.
That were evangelicals. Yeah. Massive number of churched people specifically that didn't vote, according to research. And then you have non-conservatives in a coalition with Donald Trump. And I think that we have a seat at the table, but it's not what we thought it was. And it's not what we always hoped it would be, because I hate to say this, but I think that the politicians and things that we have been doing as conservatives for years hasn't really worked that well.
Well, the thing
I hate to say it, but
the thing is, even the Tea Party, that was originally the first group to rise up to demand the Republicans do something different, was not a really evangelical set of people. It was
very economic,
right?
based.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, we have a seat at the table that I think is still pretty strong. I think Trump still recognizes the importance of the evangelicals who are supporting him, which, by the way, includes a large number of Catholics who increased their support of Donald Trump, and really because of the pro-life stance. Again, abortion is still here, but Trump represents the best chance to make some headway on that issue as well. And the people who are so-called pro-choice know that. That's just why, again, another reason why they hated this guy getting back into office. But you make a great point. It is a coalition, and Trump is the only one who could form this coalition. I said something to a friend, because we were talking about what we were just saying, how that fewer evangelicals and American Christians voted in this race, at least for him. But the thing I'm rejoicing about is at least more and more of us who are evangelicals are realizing that under the present circumstances, we're not going to get the ideal of what we want. And many are realizing that right now we have to make hay with what we have, the best opportunity we have, using, in this case, the best vessel that we have, which right now is Donald Trump. I really believe that if a godly, righteous man or woman was the nomination of our party, they would not garner the votes necessary to beat back the progressives and the leftists out there.
Well, I think that's true, and I think it's unfortunate.
I'm not saying it's good.
And I actually think that it speaks to the weakness of the church and to evangelicals. Now, we want these politicians to cater to us and give us what we want, but we are, in some ways, we're toothless. We're spineless, and I think that's too bad. You know, in 2016, Donald Trump got a huge percentage of the electorate. Well, let me back up. A huge percentage of the electorate in 2016 was evangelicals.
Sure. And
the percentage of those evangelicals voted 80-something% for Donald Trump, which is typical. That's the percentage of evangelicals is typical. We made a deal with him. This is what a lot of people didn't understand why evangelicals supported Donald Trump. We made a deal with him. Give us judges that will overturn Roe.
And it happened.
And he did, and it happened. And then what happened? We started losing pro-life fights in states with special elections and ballot initiatives. Cleve, we weren't ready. Unfortunately, he gave us what we wanted. We were caught flat-footed, I think. We started losing. Cleve, an amendment in Florida almost passed
That is something.
to allow abortion up to 9 months.
Yeah.
Just last week that happened.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, unfortunately, as pro-life evangelicals, we're not getting it done. We're just not getting it done. And if we want a bigger seat at the table and we want more results for what we believe in and what's important to us, we have to actually make it happen. And unfortunately, for years, and I think conservatives, generally speaking, is the same thing. It's a lot of talk. It's a lot of media out there. You get a lot of eyeballs. You get a lot of eardrums. You sell some books. But is there actually any policy wins and actually anything going on there? I think that in most cases there's not. We got to fix that. We got to do something about that.
Some states are doing it. For some states they are doing it, but for the most part, I tend to agree with you. But some states are having more success at that now.
But we have a better chance, obviously, with Trump to advance some of these things, and a lot of the things he is wanting to do is exactly what we need if we have a chance. I mean, term limits is massive for that kind of thing.
I love it when he said that.
And a lot of things he's proposing, protecting speech, and it's great. It's great stuff.
It's all good stuff what he's saying, and the border, okay, which was one of the top things that turned the election was the border, because they could not. They told us you don't believe your lying eyes. The border's fine, okay, and it's now so obvious it is not. Well,
and he ran, by the way, on mass deportation. He won handedly.
Yeah.
So you know what that means.
Yes.
We're going to be doing some deportation.
Yes.
And he and one appointment that I'm pretty sure is in stone is this Homan guy.
Yes.
Who is,
I like him, by the way.
I like him a lot too.
Yeah.
He's the perfect guy for the job because he's not some pretty boy that's there for popularity, or he's clearly a guy that very utilitarian. He's going to get the job done.
Well, he said recently, and there already have been death threats against him and against his family going on. He says, but I got a job to do, and so he says, basically he told them to bring it. I mean, this guy's for real. He was in the rank and files. He knows what it's like out there. He knows what his people are facing. And so a lot of people who in the Border Patrol who were retiring are now re-upping again since the election, because this is why they were retiring. They felt they had nobody there.
And that is something that's going to happen real fast.
Yes. I love it. So again, that's executive order. So he's going to start that, which is so important. And he's naming some good people. There are others. I was surprised with Kristi Noem. I think she became his secretary to the UN.
I don't think that's official yet either.
I think it is. I think you'll find out.
It's not UN. It's Homeland Security.
That's right. I'm sorry. Thank you. Well, who's the UN?
That would be Stefanik. Elise Stefanik.
Yeah. Homeland Security. I think that's in stone.
Okay.
I really believe. And she's a good person. I think she's a good person.
I'm not really a fan of that.
Listen, no dog will dare try to come across. I'll just mess with you. But no, I think she's fine. I think she's in good shape. And all these people, at least the ones I'm thinking of, actually identify as Christians, okay, including the new ambassador to Israel.
Huckabee. I love that pick.
Yeah.
That is a great pick.
That's because, again, not only is he a Christian, but he has a Christian viewpoint of the nation of Israel and the importance of our alliance with that. And that says a lot to me when he did that,
Well, here's another thing I'll say. Be looking in 2 years for more Republicans to join the Trump team. Like in 2 years, Ron DeSantis is termed out. He can't be governor anymore
you're
of
right.
Florida.
You're right.
And I think that I don't think DeSantis is joining the Trump team, but he might in 2 years. Same with you mentioned Huckabee. Same with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She could run again in Arkansas as governor, but she could also have a role in the Trump White House in 2 years when her term is up. She might go ahead.
I think somebody will be looking at her as a VP. Nominee.
Could be. That's an interesting thought and choice. And I think that, with her being the governor of a state, she has some executive experience and you could feasibly see that happen. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the team is staffed. I love the policy videos Trump is coming out with, and the liberal tears are flowing.
Oh my goodness!
Which is which is great too. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. I'm seeing Trump cheated, obviously. I'm seeing people moving out of the country, which is also welcome. A lot of meltdowns, which I don't love the meltdowns as much. It's more pity for me when I see those. I feel really bad for people that actually think that they're physically in danger because Donald Trump is president. I think that these are in many cases vulnerable people who've been lied to and believe this stuff.
I only like it because it's showing the general populace in America exactly what kind of people we just kept out of power. I'm just telling you.
I saw a funny SNL skit. They opened up Saturday Night Live this past week, and they talked about how worried, how so many people are distraught and worried, and they said that Trump has vowed to keep an enemies list, and that is why we want to say we've been with you the whole time. They're being all sarcastic.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And the reason I like that is because they're kind of making fun of themselves. Yeah, because obviously, if Trump is Hitler, you're not going to do that. Yeah. You're not going to do that. He's obviously not. And you could tell by the way, like Kamala called him and congratulated him. That's what she said. I just called to congratulate Donald Trump on winning the election. I'm thinking to myself, well, that's strange. She's been telling us for weeks that he's Hitler. And Mao and all these, actually, they like Mao, so they didn't say Mao, but Stalin and all these people. And would you call Hitler to congratulate him?
Yeah.
No. And the thing about that is that they knew all along that they're lying about him.
That was just
their
campaign ploy.
And that was their campaign, is that he's Hitler. Nobody bought it because clearly he's not. The SNL people don't buy it. They know it's a joke, which my problem with it is that he almost got killed twice because of this kind of thing.
Because of that kind
and
of
a lot of people
rhetoric.
took it seriously.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. We'll see, moving forward, there's going to be plenty of meltdowns and distraught people, but hopefully success will come and that will be good for everybody.
The biggies coming up are, at this time, we don't know who the Attorney General will be, but that's a very important position. It's got to get the right person for that because we need to clean house. We're going to get a new FBI director. I have no doubt about that. But we also need a new CIA director. So literally, he knows now.
And he's been saying he's going to get rid of a lot of people.
Going to have to.
Not just directors. He's going to be getting rid of a lot of bureaucrats.
Because you have no choice. He recognizes if these people stay where they are to cause the leaks and to continue the versions of directions and policies, you're just going to be battling them all over again. So I believe he's going to get them out of there.
Do you think he ought to try to stack the court?
Stack the court?
Yeah. Don't you think he should try to add like 4 justices? Because the Democrats were saying they wanted to do this.
Yeah, I know.
So they said it was a good idea. So Trump should say, you know what, liberals, that was an interesting idea. I think I'm going to add 4 justices and see what they say. And when they freak out about it.
I'll tell you this, though. I have heard this said, which I'm not really necessarily for it or against it, but I've heard rumblings that a couple of the conservative justices might consider this a good time to retire.
I think it might be.
Yeah.
I think it might. I mean, I want Clarence Thomas to live forever.
Yeah.
But he won't. But he's not going to. No. And so I actually do think it might be a good time to do that. And in all seriousness, I think that one of the things Trump should do is propose an amendment or a bill. I think it would need to be an amendment to cap justices at 9. I think we need to do that. I think instead of stacking the court, which I was being facetious about, he should make it so it can't be. And they should do that along with term limits in Congress. They should go ahead and set the number of justices at 9.
But now he gets a chance to continue appointing federal level as well. I mean, those judges are important as well.
By the way, for Supreme Court, I think it's time for him to nominate Mike Lee.
Oh, he'd be great.
I think Mike Lee needs to be the next.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about
nominated.
That. He would be.
I
perfect.
really think so.
Yeah, he'd be the caliber that we're needed. He would actually be Clarence Thomas on steroids in some ways, because Clarence Thomas is great, has been studied, a solid constitutionalist. I just love the way Mike Lee communicates. I love his vibrancy. So yeah, having him on the court or somebody of his ilk, super cool. So we got a deep bench to draw from. I mean, there are so many good people out there, and that's just a fact. And I believe that Trump is looking for some good people.
Let me say this about our bench, too. purity tests are going to fail. So a lot of the bench, a lot of the people on there, they're staunch conservatives, quote unquote, are going to have some problems with some of these people. What they need, like Rubio, a lot of people don't like him, as I mentioned before. You got to realize the most important thing right now, this is not a conservative president. The most important thing right now is to get people that will carry out his agenda.
Right.
People that are not going to stand in the way and have some sort of high-minded, but this is the way we've all, decorum, or this is the way we've always like done Romney, things kind of attitude, like Romney. Yeah. You don't want to do that. You pick people like RFK. He's telling him he's going to give RFK some advisory role, but he told him at the speech when he won, don't touch the oil.
Right.
In other words, stay in your lane.
Exactly.
You have your strength, and I'm going to use your strength. We're not going to put you anywhere near your weaknesses. And I think that that's going to be the case with a lot of these appointments. I hope that is the case.
I think it is.
And trust me, he's had a long time, 4 years, to think about who he's going to have.
This is a much wiser man coming into that office now than he did when he first came in there. He was blindsided in a way. Trump was actually naive in the workings of D.C., not anymore. Not anymore. So I love what he's saying so far. I love the declarations, and I just thank God again, because if the Democrats have won this, there are no more elections. Not any that will matter anyway. I'm just telling you.
That's what Elon Musk had been saying. Is he and what he meant. This is what I think he meant. Not that there wouldn't be an election, but that effectively we'd be a one-party country.
Yes.
And I think that that's probably correct.
And he's right. He said, and they're going to come after me. So if they were in power, they would find a way to even try to sideline him. So a lot of things to be thankful for. I'm thanking God for all of these things. To me, that it happened on Veterans Day season, which I think was so appropriate, because of like saying to our military, we want to give you the country that you really signed up to defend again. That country has been missing for 4 years, unfortunately. David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker. David, where can they hear this discussion again?
Check it out on Spotify. Find it on Apple Podcasts, on Facebook, and make sure you leave a comment and subscribe.
And I'm Cleve Walker, along with David Perry. And even though we won this battle, the fight is not over with. So keep the faith. It's not done yet. Have a great day.